Hey DTA Nation, Easter's coming up, and if you're still figuring out the centerpiece for your table, Old Southern Barbecue has you covered. Their double smoked brown sugar glazed ham is the real deal, starting at just $79.99. But here's the move: if you upgrade to the full Easter ham dinner for $134.99, they'll send you home with scratch-made mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, gravy, and their homemade banana pudding. Go online and order at oldsouthernbarbecue.com or give one of their locations a call. They will go fast. Now to the show.
And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And this is The Source.
No T.S. Spirides. He might... No, I don't think he's joining us at all tonight. But that's okay.
He's in Vegas. He's in Vegas watching the NCAAs, I assume.
Yeah, let's spread that rumor. Yeah, he's definitely in Vegas watching basketball this week. But I missed Section 7, so that all good. I can't do any chirping. Good to be back on the mic. Hope I didn't miss too much. I heard Section 7 went well from Ted. Anything I need to get caught up on from you?
Yeah, we had a good talk. Last week on Section 7, you learned a lesson about teams moving sections, so that was good to see. Kind of post-production talk there, but it was a good talk, and really excited to get into Section 8 and wrap these section previews up.
Before we talk a little, off the field, social media, lacrosse, and maybe some other storylines, we're obviously riding with Old Southern Barbecue. The golf season is in full swing, and Old Southern Barbecue is doing a special setup for is the Masters your favorite golf event of the year?
The Masters is easily my favorite golf event of the year.
And they're gonna have a spread. We've been talking about it the last few weeks. We've been diving deep on the pimento cheese, but it sounds like they're gonna do a special spread for Masters Week.
You might want to cut this part.
Oh, did I make this up?
Yeah, he said he can't do it for this year. It's going to be for next year.
It's all for next year. Well, no, keep this in, Ted. Keep this in. This is just me. There was an email. I was reading an email today. Maybe I totally read it wrong. I was reading an email between Ted and the big man. The Masters platter. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I've followed the emails. This was on a new chain today. This is on a brand new chain. Okay. Maybe this is next year. So you have to wait. You're going to have to wait. Old Southern Barbecue will still be with us because they ride with Minnesota Lacrosse. So maybe they don't have a special platter this year. But
they have an Easter platter, though.
But they're going to have an Easter platter. We've been talking about that. And, when you're watching the college basketball tournaments and everything else going on, make sure to check them out. Either, in person, get some takeout, whatever it might be. They also have rubs and sauces if you want to do your own now that the weather has finally turned.
I tell you, Ted has gone 1 week and we're just off the rails, 3 minutes in.
Off the rails. I can't keep it together. I literally read this email today and I wasn't an English major. I can't read correctly. So what we're off the rails. Lacrosse, Twitter, X, social media has been off the rails. Source, either tee me up or lay the land or start on your I don't even know my full thoughts on this, but let's do a quick breakdown on what college lacrosse Twitter has gone through over the last week here.
So, of course, we're talking about the infamous Corrigan Sports stream and associated replay situation between NCAA Division I, Penn State, if you've ever heard of them, against UNC. Close game. Some controversy on the replay, where the replay was being held, who was actually conducting the replay. Was it the play-by-play guy? You have thoughts. I have maybe fewer thoughts, but yeah, what do you think about that? And then what happened with Lax Twitter and Lax podcasting as a subsequent follow-up to all that?
Yeah, so again, if I've missed something, I don't know all the information. I'm not in the college lacrosse hosting and commentating game, but I've been following it from afar as closely as I could. My general thoughts, I don't know how we got to this point. I don't know how the world transpired to be able for this to even be a conversation that we're having currently. Um, it's a cool event. I believe it was at a neutral site. Was it in Florida?
In I believe North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, where they PLL I think had a weekend there last year, the Crown Classic.
Crown
It
Classic.
was Division One men's and women's, Division Two men's and women's. I know Wingate was there, featured by Prior Lake alum Lauren Knutson,
Not a big deal.
just rolling up the points this year as a freshman.
Unreal.
Um,
So
yeah,
it,
big time event, big time, lots of games. Kind of a jamboree type situation, or lacrosse day Minnesota type thing.
so I've heard of this Crown Classic before. I would love for something like that to come to Minnesota. It'd be a really cool thing to, have a host city, have a bunch of college lacrosse that doesn't get to see it, week in, week out. Um, the announcer said that they were the ones doing the replay. The replay that was being shown was questionable, and they allegedly, or they thought, or they said that they were the ones making the call. That has been since reinstated, that they had nothing to do with the call. And now Booker, who I've never met the man. I don't follow him. I don't have anything against or for him, but he has since said, wiped his hands clean of, oh, this was just a whole big, misunderstanding between everybody. I doubt that. I think this is just the NCAA trying to clean face and clean house of, oh no, there just must have been a miscommunication between the on field and who is in the commentating box. I could be wrong on that. But that's just my theory, tinfoil hat, that the NCAA just wanted to save face.
Well, Booker Corgan is kind of a character, and he says a lot of great things that catch the highlights and get the social media things going. So I think when he was explaining it, and I have a shred of experience with college replay. What he was saying is that our camera feeds are the same feeds that the officials are going to be using for the replay. He said, we have the replay, we're in charge of the replay, we are the replay booth.
Those are two very different
Those
things.
are two very different things. And then as a play-by-play guy or analyst, he's going through and analyzing the play for the people watching his stream at $16 a game or whatever it was. And he's kind of sounding like he's telling the officials what he's seeing and what call to make. Now, it turns out he wasn't actually doing that. The officials were watching the same angles and same views that he had, but they didn't have his audio, and they were seeing the replays. Booker was just calling it for the broadcast as what he was seeing. It didn't come off that way. It sounded pretty silly. He kind of, at first, allegedly, I didn't hear the interview. I just listened to some of the podcasts. He kind of doubled down on it, on like that they were the replay booth, and then he walked it back and said, "No, we just had the streams, and they were." He made it right at the end, but it kind of lasted a 24-hour cycle, and everything just blew up and lacks Twitter and lacks everything else, social media. So there you go. It kind of speaks to, are we serious about lacrosse? Like, if this is a stream, great, whatever. It's better to have any stream than no stream. But if the replay truck is actually, using that, it's got to be a little more clear what's going on and who's doing what. I think that needs to be cleaned up. My experience at St. Thomas, doing some of the replay stuff there is a whole program called DV Sports that the whole replay thing runs through, but they use the camera angles that are in the stadium. And so if there's no other cameras besides what Corgan Sports had, that's what they would be using, and that's what it would be. But yeah, Booker Corgan was not the replay tech on this, and he certainly wasn't the official.
Well, good. Glad we got that cleaned up. Let's bump over to some Section 8 talk. We've had these fellas on before. They own Section 8. looks like one is definitely not in Moorhead, Minnesota right now. The other can't tell. He's got his background blurred. Alex, Logan, welcome to Down the Alley.
Hey,
Thanks for
P-Mac,
having us back.
Alex, first things first, love to see teacher support, for your fellow coach here. Where are you tuning in from?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. Just getting my spring warmed up here.
Golfing, I hope.
Tomorrow I am playing golf.
Yeah, not surprised. Logan, how are we doing?
Good. I'm living it up in Minnesota still, so I'm a little jealous of Alex, but I drove here and there wasn't snow on the ground, so that's a positive.
Who's gonna have better weather this weekend, Minnesota or Scottsdale, Arizona?
We're like 60s right now. I mean, we're doing good.
We're doing.
It was
we're doing
104
great
today. It was 104, so
That's
I
almost too hot.
I know. I was gonna say I almost might give it the nod to Minnesota there.
No, love it. Welcome to Down the Alley, guys. How's the off season looking for Moorhead? I've been following some of you guys. I think Logan and I have been texting. Moorhead is a wagon, not just in lacrosse, but hockey as well. How's the city been? Has it just been buzzing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ever since the state championship, I mean, I was there for that. I mean, that was electric. That was maybe the most fun hockey game I've ever been to in my entire life. And watching one of our boys who plays on our team here at the lacrosse team get the OT winner, I mean, that was fantastic.
Alex, were you there too, or?
I was not this year. I made it last year. I was with Logan. We did the whole thing for our first championship last year. This year, I chose Legends in town as my weapon of choice, and the place was buzzing, and that was a good way to do it as well. So,
I don't, and we can cut this too, but loved this after the semifinal. Boys playing through the buzzer.
yeah, I got nothing to add. It was, it is what it is. It's Edina. There's nothing you got to cut.
Yeah, especially with last year and Moorhead going through Edina, you know that there was a lot on the line for that game, so that we'll say the emotions were high.
And we can talk about this too. The Discord has been talking about it, since then. And you guys have had a game or two against them over the last few years. Does the hockey rivalry leak over into lacrosse, or was that way overstated in the Discord?
That was probably a little bit overstated. I think I'm sure there's some of the hockey players that might see it that way, but for both of our teams as a whole, I didn't necessarily get that vibe. Now we played Edina once recently, and it was last year. They had that state championship team. They came in and they did pretty well against us, I would say. So I'm sure that somewhere during that game when they're up 8 goals or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised if one of our hockey players mentioned the hockey game, but I don't know that for a fact, and I don't think that it led to any bad blood outside of hockey. So I think that's a pretty isolated to a hockey thing, but
especially for us, we've got a good relationship with Andy and the Edina guys. Honestly, we love scheduling them and being around them. I mean, it's also just one of those things. Edina is one of those schools that, regardless of the sport, I think you want to beat them.
Yeah, no, totally. And you want them on your schedule, like you said. They're good in hockey. They've got a good lacrosse program, good football. They're good at all sports virtually. So, that's cool. Moorhead was a big crew at the DTA Invitational. I think you guys had one of your assistants with you. Any comments on the Invitational? I know you two won't be there for the Open most likely. But your assistant was talking, maybe he can get the rest of the crew down for the Open. How is that? And again, if we need to cut the Duluth talk, anything on the after chatter with Duluth, doing some I'll call it chalk talk.
Logan, you want to go, or
you can go at it first, Kelly. Okay. I mean, it was a good event.
I would just describe it as we just have some, so backstory a little bit. We go out to Carboni's and Lakeville Apple Valley there after the golf tournament. PMAC was with us, and then some of the Duluth coaches, and it eventually got down to some chalk talk and some schematics, and of course, we have Duluth on our schedule, as I know you guys do as well, Prior Lake. And so you don't want to get too into detail, but at the same time, I was like, well, hang on here. We have like just a complete fundamental disagreement on how lacrosse is to be played. And they essentially chalked that up to, the Duluth coaches being from Ohio. And that's kind of their background. But ultimately, what it came down to is they gave, 2 or 3 different points. And unfortunately for them, I had us scoring goals on film against Duluth on all 3 of those points, doing it the way that they advised against. So I don't know how they do it in Ohio. I know how we do it in Minnesota. We're here to win games, but it is what it is.
If you could ever come up for a golf event that involves lacrosse coaches, then after the fact, you go to a restaurant and we're using ketchup bottles and salt shakers to, kind of prove a point on schematics. It was a good time. I mean, I'm glad we're playing them this year too. I mean, that was a fun conversation.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, it definitely just got us a little more juice for that game. Like, that's gonna be a great time. And I like those guys. It'll be fun to see them again, and just kind of exactly how the game shakes out on the field will be interesting. They were solid last year, and I think they're going to be even better. So it'll be a fun game. They're coming to Moorhead this year. There was talks of possibly a trophy. They wanted to make it a trophy game, which I'm in for. I want to do it justice, so I want it to be a good trophy, and I've been on the lookout. I've been talking to trophy makers, and we're going to try and figure that out. But I think that'd be fun to have a trophy game in Minnesota as kind of the for lack of a better term, Kings of the North, even though we're like 5 hours apart. I mean, we're playing Owatonna this year, and that's closer than Duluth is. But
no, is it actually?
Yeah, people forget Duluth is like straight up from you guys in the cities. You do a little 2.5-hour bus ride, and that's your fun little team bonding. We're doing like 2.5 hours gets us to like Taco John's in Grand Rapids. So it's a ways across the state.
No, love, and I totally forgot about the trophy part of that conversation. There's a lot of conversations had at Carboni's. What are there other trophy games in Minnesota lacrosse? Does anyone else do that?
I don't know of any, but there has to be at least one.
There has to be. So
for sure, even
hopefully,
if it's just like for every sport trophy or something. There's got to be a school rivalry.
Yeah, get the Discord going on this conversation because I'm genuinely interested. After this episode drops, and yeah, this conversation, no shade at Duluth. I'm pumped to play them. I didn't really know those guys, really at all before like the DTA Invitational, which is, great. Like DTA's brought so many people together. So, yeah, I'm pumped to play them. Pumped for our team bonding event up in Duluth as you called it. So should be a good trip, and I'm sure we'll talk more Duluth here soon. Section 8, we'll get this thing on the rails at least a little bit. In the post-COVID era, Moorhead, you guys have owned this section. But any other, you want to give us like a brief history of Section 8, it might get some flack, but I think you guys, as well as others in the section, creating more competition and starting to do, good things at the state tournament. I think you get, bringing the reputation of Section 8 up. What do you guys have overall on the history of Section 8 before we kind of break down some of the teams?
History wise, I know like before, because 2019 is Moorhead's first year, and then obviously we had the COVID year. So there's really only been 1 year that we haven't won the section since we've been a program. I do know before we joined, Wayzata was in Section 8, and at one point I believe Maple Grove as well. But I think
So where were they going for like were they going up to Duluth for a section final like some years, or vice versa?
Duluth is 7, but yeah, I don't know.
I
I
suppose,
don't think
but
there was that many. Yeah, so I think we're kind of, one of the only super far north teams. I mean, you
Okay.
got your Brainards and your St. Clouds and whatnot, but yeah, so I think Wayzata was dominant in the section for a while, and then I think if you go way back, like I said, I think Maple Grove maybe came out once or twice. I could be wrong on that, but then yeah, ever since Wayzata left, we've won for the past 5 years. I know Buffalo, we also lost. We did beat Buffalo for our first section championship. And then we lost Buffalo out of our section as well. And now it's just a lot of, growing programs in kind of northern Minnesota. And it's kind of as lacrosse branches further north, they continue to bump out the closer to the city schools and add in, the others, just as, for that geographical representation. So that's kind of how it's shaked out.
I mean, other than like us, like most teams, like he said, are pretty close to the cities, maybe Brainerd, St. Cloud. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much us. And no, by no means is it like a cakewalk for us to get through the section. I mean, especially like once you get to like your top 5, like there's a lot of growing programs that are very competitive. There's been some years where there's been like a lot of good, like 2023, for instance. I mean, there was 3 teams that could have made it out of that section that year. I mean, it's growing, and then just like the bar keeps raising. I think probably at a greater rate than anybody, just because it's so new. And then once they get more of these athletes and these multi-sport athletes, I mean, these teams are getting better and better and better, and the programs are getting bigger. So I mean, it's definitely been growing. But just kind of like you said, like maybe like Buffalo, like we add a section, we move them out, and then we move a new team in, and then I mean, it's just kind of some of those newer teams that are just growing.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, and I know we talked about this last year a little bit too, but just as a reminder, like STMA has had some great teams that were not easy for us to get by. We've gone to overtime in I think 2 of the section championships that we've won against them. And I know one of the years that didn't go to overtime, they smoked us in the regular season, and then we were able to kind of return the favor in the section championship. But STMA has absolutely had some state-worthy teams, so shout out to them.
Yeah, no, and they're definitely going to be on the list as we kind of look forward to 2026 here, and we'll kind of start at the top. From seeding wise in 2025. We'll start with you guys. Number 1 seed last year, winner of the section, and as we've said, kind of the post COVID era, you guys have owned, probably the favorite, at least from outside looking in at first glance, and I always kind of lean, especially when there's continued dominance, they're going to be my favorite until proven otherwise. What have you guys lost and graduated from last year's team, and what's kind of coming back and exciting you for 2026?
We've as a whole, I mean, like for what we lost coming from last year, this year, we didn't lose, I'd say, like a ton of players, but we did lose some high value players, like Carter Midtoon, probably our top midfielder last year. He graduated. Then obviously Carson Coots, he was on the all tournament team. Probably, I think he's a state worthy LSM. He was right there, and he has been every single year. I mean, he's been starting for us at LSM since he was a sophomore. So losing guys like that is always difficult. But as far as like the sheer number of guys that we lost, I think we're probably doing a little bit better than most. We just got to replace some important pieces. I mean, our offense especially, and so like our defense is, like most of them are seniors this year, but I mean, they gluing together last year and kind of moving into this next year. But our offense is pretty young. A lot of 27s, a lot of 28s on offense, and then you mix in like some 26s here and there, but pretty young. I mean, go through some names. Evan Warner at attack. Kind of mentioned him when we talked about state hockey. He had the overtime winner, and then the second assist was from our midfielder Finn Paulson. In that game, both of those guys are big players on our team. Rylan Overbo, another hockey player, 2027. He plays attack. Expect him to make big jumps this year. And then we have a freshman attackman, Johnny Allness, who last year kind of starting for us about halfway through the season. Then he just really took off, just very, very fundamental, very smart, and loves the game. But like we're just, especially like defensively, we're kind of coming in with some different thoughts as last year. Like last year was let's get mostly new defense, let's get the defense to glue together, get all of our systems or concepts in that we want. This year it's going to be a little bit different, more building upon all those things because a lot of that stuff is intact. We didn't lose, 3 guys from the midfield and 2 attackmen and all of our defense. I mean, we're just losing a piece here and there. So I think we're fairly fortunate in that. And then obviously we can't forget Zach Devig, our goalie. In my opinion, top 3, top 5 goalie in the state. A lot of games that we've won are because of what he's been doing, especially like if you we're looking at the state constellation championship last year, whether it's against Minnetonka or was against Benilde. I mean, he's a huge piece in that, whether it's his ability to stretch out of the net. I mean, he had 52 ground balls on the season last year as a goalie, or just the amount of sheer saves that he makes. I mean, it's having a goalie that's that athletic, that smart, and good net. I mean, it's been huge for us.
Yeah, you talk about what you're bringing back, and yeah, maybe Kelly can comment on this. Or either way, bringing back a goalie who I see a 69 save percentage and a FOGO, 70%, along with all those points, bunch of starting polls. Last year you talked about kind of putting in that base concepts and kind of systems, and is this going to be more of a plug and play year, or are you going to be able to start tweaking things and start playing around with things?
Yeah. Good shout out on our faceoff guy too, Maddox Gregoire, and he's definitely a 3-way midi. I mean, he's going to be taking faceoffs, playing offense, playing defense. He's definitely a do-it-all guy, so we're very excited about him. And then, yeah, with the all senior defense and senior goalie that we really trust, kind of as you alluded to, we've got our systems down, and our D mids are younger guys too. A lot of our, like you said, offense is younger, so guys know their slide responsibilities, and we've got, our basics down, and we're going to be able to build on that and throw some tweaks in there and do some fun things and add some wrinkles that I think are going to kind of take us to that next level, defensively and offensively, just because we are returning so much. But I really am excited about that defense. When you got guys that know how to force outside shots, and then you got the goalie that is going to stop the outside shots, it can be pretty lethal combo for sure. So yeah, we're excited.
Another thing that kind of interests me is your guys' schedule: East Ridge, Rosemount, and Edina. I'd say 3, if not top 5, top 10 for sure, and not 10 teams. With returning this much, how do you think you're going to be able to stack up against some of these top, metro teams as a northern team?
I think especially coming in this year, just the way we view ourselves and we view what we want to do in the States, we put a big emphasis on making a tougher regular season schedule. So when you win an FU win the section, you can make it to that first round of state. You could have a good seed, and you can make it past that point. And I think when you're playing East Ridge and Rosemount and Edina, and you got to add those teams to the schedule, all of those teams, I mean, at least two of the 3 or all 3, I mean, they all could make a real run at winning state championship this year. You want to play those teams. And I think it's fantastic. And those guys have been awesome too. 2 of those games are coming to Moorhead, and the only reason we're going to Edina this year is because they came to us last year. So I mean, it's getting more teams out to Moorhead too has been fantastic. I think this is our first year since I've been here. Actually, I think it is our first year where we have more home games than away games. So I mean, that's pretty cool too.
Last question I got for you guys before we move on to some other teams, or if you have anything else to add on the Spuds, go ahead. The continued success, it's hard to continue no matter what section you're in, right? With graduation, you don't just get to extend guys to 8-year contracts, right? You got to continue to reload and work through graduation. How have you been able to do that in Moorhead year after year?
Yeah, I think as we grow as coaches, one thing is we just really now have a foundation for our organization and how we do things. And, you know, it truly is a program, quote unquote, where, you know, we have a certain way that we do things and we can kind of coach the athletes into those roles. We know what it takes certainly to win a section. And you know, beyond that, we're working on it, but we've had a little bit of success, at least in the consolation brackets. So we know what that looks like. We know what we need to tweak. We know what we need from our athletes on a year-to-year basis. And so, you know, that's great. Another thing is Moorhead just has a steady stream of athletes, you know, and I think one thing, you know, yeah, we're coming out of Section 8, which, let's be honest, can be a weaker section at times. We get it. You know, we're not the best, but Moorhead is a school the size of a lot of these teams that are playing in the cities. You know, we're in a state championship for football. We're winning the state championship for hockey. So that's the kind of school that Moorhead is. And so, you know, I think people should come to expect, you know, good things from us. And we're just, you know, certainly trying to uphold those expectations. But yeah, luckily our coaching staff doesn't graduate. So that definitely helps. And we've got a great cast of guys, you know, beyond Logan and myself. Actually, we do have one other story we were going to bring up, is the Quinn Power thing, if you wanted to dive into that.
Yeah, hit me.
Logan, you want to tell that story?
Yeah, you want me to, so we, you know, as a growing like lacrosse school and lacrosse culture, it's kind of been growing so much in Moorhead over the past handful of years. So like it's just like the little things that you don't really think about that we try to get and then just kind of implement as the norm. So like whether that's, you know, like the standards on the helmets or playing on the turf or the schedule or whatever it may be. And one of those things was the importance of the face-off that we all know is important, but having, you know, the district backing you and saying like, hey, we want to have a face-off coach on staff. And, you know, it's just like anybody, we all want to have staff contracts versus like having everybody be a volunteer. You know, you actually want to have someone on the staff being paid. And so we had, when we played against Lakeville North, 2 years ago, in the first round of state, I think we won one face-off, maybe two, the entire game. And our athletic director was there. And after that game, when we were back in Moorhead, he's like, I was trying to describe to my other ADs what this was like with what Quinn Power was doing. We're like, I think when we did get the ball, we could hang with them, especially offensively, but even like defensively. But like when you're losing every single face-off possession, and then obviously they have the Piscatellos, it's tough. Like you're really playing from behind. So he was like, I was trying to explain this to my other ADs, and I basically explained it like, imagine you have 2 7-footers in basketball, and after every single basket, they had to do a tip-off. And you have a 7-footer. Sorry, you have a 7-footer, and you know the other guy's like just regular high school kid, 6-footer. And so what's going to happen? You're just going to get every single tip-off, and you're going to score. And he's like, we're going to solve this. We're going to get a face-off coach. And I was like, you know, that game wasn't the most enjoyable, but you know what? Something came out of it. We have a face-off coach on staff who is fantastic, Andrew Madsen, who, you know, he's worked with NDSU and he's done some different stuff around the state. Some people might know who he is. But that was been one great thing to come out of that is we got ourselves a face-off coach on staff.
Yeah, no, I would reiterate, you know, having support from your district in terms of staffing. You talk about fields, equipment, right? You can go down the list.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things matter. All of those things add up and pay dividends right later. So yeah, no, cool story, great story. Yeah, moving on in Section 8, the number 2 seed of last year, Monticello, the Magic. Their staff has kind of been together now for a few years. I'm sure you guys battled against them when they were at Buffalo. We've been talking them up now that they're at Monticello. They had a great season last year, getting that 2 seed. You know, ultimately falling short in the semifinals. But they've had a staff, you know, there for a few years, you know, building up that program. I know they graduate what looks like quite a bit. You know, what do you guys know and have on Monticello as they look to reload in 2026?
Monticello, when it comes, they're one of those programs that's, especially in our section, that's growing and just kind of leveling up every single year. Yeah, they do lose quite a few contributors on offense and their defensive core. But in talking to Chad and then seeing what he's been doing, so Chad Hayes is their head coach, and he's been huge at growing this program. They will reload. We fully expect them to reload. Talking to them, they got a lot of young guys who have been getting some minutes here and there, and are ready to step up. The biggest thing I think for them, last year and coming into this year, is their faceoff guy Garrett Bauer, all-state faceoff. I mean, this kid he's a problem, just like any good faceoff kid is, but he's a problem. And so, kind of fun fact from him that Chad told me that I kind of knew about, but not really. So he took a break from wrestling for 2 or 3 years. So this offseason, he went back to wrestling, and he won like a heavyweight, whatever that is. I don't know if there's like a number that goes with that, but a heavyweight state championship. So he basically didn't wrestle for 2-3 years, comes back in. I mean, that's kind of the level of athlete that he is. And you have a kid like that with fast hands and good at getting the ground ball. I mean, he's a problem, and he's more than a problem just on faceoffs. He does man up. He's great on defense. I mean, he's a kind of a do-it-all. So I mean, when you have a kid like that, you could lose your starting defense and put some young guys in. You could lose a lot of your midfielders. It looks like they lose their top attackman, but they got the other two ready to go. But when you have a guy like that, I think we all know that there's some teams that can make runs if you have a good goalie, who I think they will have this year. I mean, he's been starting for the past this will be his 3rd year starting. And so he's kind of just been leveling up every single year. And then you have Garrett Bauer. I think they're going to be a problem, especially, I mean, if you get into these high scoring games, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, no, that kind of hit on all the notes that I had. Garrett Bauer was highlighted, bolded, underlined, 3-way midi. This isn't a team that I've played against in person, so but he sounds like he checks all the boxes, and you've got a good young goalie. That's a good recipe for, at least some success, right? Keep you in the game while you kind of reload around that. Number 3 seed, STMA. They ended up falling to you guys in the finals. You guys have been going back and forth with this squad. It seems like they're on the cusp every single year. What do you expect out of the Knights in 2026?
Yeah, I can talk about them. One thing, if we could just mention retroactively, because I'm sure it got lost in the shuffle. That championship game last year, we went into that game like we were feeling ourselves. We were feeling great. We had played them in the regular season. It went well. They were absolutely, a young team kind of rebuilding last year after losing a great group of seniors. We get to that game. I can't believe it wasn't canceled. It was the hardest storm that I have ever been on the field in a lacrosse game for. I mean, the ball would basically come out of your stick and get hit by rain and like go on the ground. It was ridiculous. Everyone was like they just jumped in a pool. It was the craziest, and it's for a section championship, stayed on the line. What an absolutely crazy game. I think the final ended up being like, 6-3?
I've got 6-3. So I was wondering, that does look like a weird score. I wonder if there was weather or just a tight defensive battle.
Move.
Especially on I look at all the other scores around this game, like higher scoring section in general, 6-3. That's kind of weird.
We couldn't even run. Nobody could move up and down the field, let alone play lacrosse. It was just an absurd torrential downpour. But I digress. As we're moving on here with STMA, like I said, a lot of those guys last year were young. Is it Bechtold, the LSM, right?
Yeah.
Is that his name, Logan? Yeah, Bechtold, the LSM. Great player. He's all over the field. I know that their coaches are going to scheme up ways to score. And sometimes as a lacrosse coach, it is fun to get that hit that reset button with a group of young guys and kind of mold them into, maybe you want to change your ways a little bit, and that's a good opportunity to do that. And I think they kind of found their way towards the end of the season last year, and I'm excited to see what they have to offer as we dive into 2026. But we've done battle with them numerous times, and they're always a tough out. So definitely an opponent that we respect, and I expect to be top 3 in our section for sure.
Yeah, especially as far as like losing guys, they only lost like one starter, as far as I know. I mean, like, and it wasn't like it was one of their attackmen, and it's not. I mean, it's not one of the higher scoring attackmen. I think it was their third attackman. Bechtold, like he said, Bechtold, I fully expect Bechtold to be having some strong conversations about him at the All-State meeting this next year. I mean, he's legit, and he's going to cause some problems. And they've got a goalie that's been starting since he was an 8th grader. So I mean, he's a junior now, so this will be his 4th season in net starting. So I mean, they're going to be a problem.
So is this core, like, is a lot of their core 27s?
Yeah, it looks like 27s and then some 26s, but I think their core is a lot of 27s. Of 27s. And that kind of seems, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I've been seeing a lot of groups with the 27s being a pretty big core of their team.
Yeah, I think that generally speaking is probably right. I feel like the 26s just might be a lighter class overall. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe a COVID thing. I don't know, like with people coming in or who played or who didn't, but the 27s seem to have some heavy hitters a lot for a lot of teams.
Cool. The number 4, one of the coolest names in Minnesota lacrosse, the Storm & Sabres of Sartell Sauk Rapids, coming off a pretty solid 8-6 season. Lost to Elk River in the quarterfinals, but pretty good record for a team that, at least from my perspective, is kind of under the radar. It looks like they're replacing quite a bit on offense and goalie, but get a lot of pulls back. What do you guys have on the Stormin' Sabres?
It's kind of like you said. I mean, they lost a lot of their offensive points. Mason Anderson, I think he's playing at NDSU now, so we'll probably see him this weekend when they play. But he was very, very good attackman, great player for them. And then they had they lost three of their top goal scorers. I think that's going to be tougher to replace, but they do have Will Courier coming back. I mean, he's kind of a do-it-all. And then their entire defensive core, their LSM, all those guys are returning. And, Tron's been doing a good job with them. He's been kind of building that program up since he's been there. I think Kelly, what is his second year last year?
Yeah, that sounds right. So maybe second last year. So this will be his third.
Yeah. So he's been growing that program. And the more I talk to him and people who have known him before, they all have nothing but great things to say about him and what he's willing to do for Sartell and kind of make that grow that program every single year. And he has been. So, I mean, I fully expect they did lose a lot of points, but I fully expect that they're going to, figure that out. They're going to have some guys coming up that I think could be a problem.
Yeah. Like you said, with the coaching staff and their head coach and assistant coach were the coaches of the year in our section last year. And they kind of went through a lot as a team last year, if you guys remember. But ultimately, like on the field, they did some things even in games where, we felt like we had a handle on it. They did some things schematically where it's like you can kind of just tell, like, okay, these guys know what they're doing, and it's just a matter of time where they get the right group of boys together, and they're going to be dangerous because it definitely seems like they know what they're doing over there. So that's a program that could pop off at any time.
Right on. And the 5th seed, Elk River Zimmerman, fell to the Spuds in the semifinals after beating the Storm & Sabres. Doesn't look like they graduate, a lot. I think they graduate maybe their leading point getter in Nordquist, and a pull or two, but seems like they're bringing back quite a bit. I get the general sense that their youth program is growing too. I don't know, maybe not. I feel like this is just a program in city overall kind of on the rise and growing. What do we have on Elk River? Do you guys have the kind of the same sense?
Kind of similar to like Sartell, right? Like Kelly, you can go, but it's kind of similar to Sartell and like the growth, but obviously they're much, the size of the school. I think they have athletes.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if they ever pull over some of those football kids, that we've definitely seen it a year or two in the past where they can get real athletic out there, regardless of the lacrosse. But they did look like they were improving last year. I believe last year was their first year with the new head coach, and it's forgive me for I believe his name is Alex actually.
Yeah, Alex Stoll.
Yep. So kind of getting that second year with your new systems in is obviously big for any coach. And I'm curious to see what they have. There is one kid I wanted to shout out, number 10, Braden Becker. We played against him last year. He's a midfielder. Looks like he missed a few games to injury and still had 32 points, assuming injury, I guess. I don't know. One of the fastest kids that I've ever seen on a lacrosse field. I mean, one of those guys where they'd throw him the ball in a clear, and if you didn't have your poop in a group on the clear, he was gone. So one of the faster moving players I've ever seen. I just thought that was interesting. And then after the game, I go up and tell him good job, and find out he's like my third cousin. So that's cool. Don't know. Should have came Moorhead. But no, I'm joking. But good player. They've got some other good players coming back that have been on our scouting reports for a few years. A couple good shooters too. So it'll be interesting to see what Elk River's got this year as second year in their new regime.
The top five there, I from my seat, I feel like that's the core of this section. Any other, teams or players that stand out in this section that could, pop off, or anything in 2026 that you want to shout out quick?
I mean, Providence Academy is always one, and I think Kelly's maybe even said on here before. I mean, that's a team that we've never actually even seen in person. Would love to play them at this point. I just to make sure we know that they're real.
I'm not convinced they exist.
Yeah,
That's just a lack something.
And there always seems to be one or two kids there who are just rock stars. Last year it was Brayson Ori, 69 points, and he was lighting it up for their games. But never seen any of them in person. But other than that, like Providence Academy, like they're one of those teams that like same thing. I mean, they pull from a lot of different schools, but I mean, if they got a good group together too, I mean, they could. There's any year they could put themselves right up there in the mix.
Yeah, one other school I would shout out is Ricori. Ricori has had some years where they are, way down, and I don't even have I didn't do a deep dive on their roster. We don't usually see them in the regular season. We did play them in the playoffs last year, so I don't have names and stuff to go off of, but I did watch a lot of film and prep for our playoff game last year, and that team is on the rise. I don't know. Hopefully that wasn't like all seniors and they're going to, have a regression, but if they keep getting better, Ricori was actually a program that, I don't know where they're going to end up in the section, but definitely a team that's getting better. And, I know they're good in other sports. I think they have a solid football program. They have a nice facility. It seems like a place that, could foster a good lacrosse team. So shout out to Corey. Other than that, that's about all I got.
The Brainerd numbers too is a good one. So Brainerd's been having good numbers, and I think it's going to take, if they get a good athletic group. They've been getting more coaches who know the game, and I think they're outdoing our numbers right now for kids in the program. I mean, they've been growing.
Love it. Thank you guys for coming down the alley, breaking down section 6, and talking a little Spud and DTA. Appreciate you guys, and good luck to you guys and the Spuds in 2026.
Yeah, thanks for having us on as a duo always too. I love that.
No,
we're like the one squad that we're like, you know what, we're gonna do both. And
I love it. It
coach,
adds more.
It.
Yeah, I know. I love it. The 1-2 punch. You guys are bringing different perspectives and stories. So, no, always, our pleasure.
It makes it easier on this end, to tell you that, because if I forget something, Kelly probably knows it.
Well, yeah, Kelly brings all the stats, right? So,
Kelly's the info guy. Yeah. I need some info. I'm going to Kelly.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you to Coach Alex, Coach Logan for coming down the alley, breaking down Section 8 boys lacrosse. Spuds are a wagon. They're looking to roll it back in 2026. And I'm sure we'll talk more and break down the boys' side. I've got Sydney in the waiting room, so I'm going to let her in right now for you, Source.
And welcome back to Down the Alley. Lucky to have Sidney Schreiner on the line, head coach for the STMA Knights. Sydney, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Why don't you introduce yourself to us and to the Down the Alley audience? What your lacrosse history is, what your background is, and sort of your life as you came up through lacrosse in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sidney Schreiner, STMA Girls Lacrosse, been in the program for the past 9 years. I graduated from St. Michael Albertville in 2016. I almost forgot. Graduated from there in 2016 and then went off and played college lacrosse at Concordia St. Paul for 2 years, and then ended up transferring to UMD and just continuing and finishing up my undergrad. But in doing so, when I was at Concordia St. Paul, I was driving back and forth to St. Michael when I could. Definitely, I had the opportunity to be the assistant coach for Jill Anderson at St. Michael. So super honored to have that and be able to come back and be able to coach for them. And I've been at the program now for 9 years, and I was assistant for 5 and head coach now for 4. So super excited for my 9th year. It's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my background. And then right now, in the last couple of years, I've been coaching club lacrosse for Pipeline. It's really grown me into the coach I really am. And it's continued to excel just beyond measure. So that's a little bit about, I guess, lacrosse. And I just am actually a newly dog mom. So that's a little bit new with me.
What kind of dog? Katie will kill me if I don't ask.
A French bulldog.
Oh, those are cute.
Yep. Yeah, my boyfriend was not as excited at first, and then as the days go on, I'm like, yeah, see, I told you.
What's your dog's name?
His name's Bo.
Bo. All right.
Yep.
Shout out Bo. Well, history as a player, history as an assistant coach, now history as a head coach. What's Section 8 been like throughout the years? You've got a little bit of time under your belt. What's the history and background and how has STMA fit into the Section 8 scene?
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely continued to grow year after year. It's definitely helped being the late conference. We're in one of the toughest conferences in the state, and it's continued to push us year after year, us and Buffalo in our section as well. But it's truly what has pushed our girls in the highest way possible. Just having, the Edinas, the Minnetonkas, the Wyzettas, and now the Buffaloes. So, and Maple Grove joining us now this year. So it's been a ride. And, with the season last year, we had, an up and down season. But definitely I felt like towards the end, our girls were really developing as a whole and continuing to do things with a purpose. But yeah, but basically I would say our school has just continued to grow. We're not huge into club lacrosse, but I feel like year after year, we've gotten a lot of off-season training with a lot of our girls coming out of our youth, and especially some of our players that have been playing for the last couple of years that didn't know of club lacrosse are playing year round. So that's been a huge up for our STMA girls lacrosse. So yeah, and then last year I would say we came out of the semifinal game against Moorhead. Tough matchup, second round, losing to them by 1 again. We lost to them 6-7 in Moorhead back to back. And that was just a super, super close game. Just came down to nerves and, rushing at key moments, especially in the fourth quarter. We just lost our vision and we just lost utilizing each other is what it really came down to. But that whole experience really fueled our group and truly has pushed our team in the off season. And we're just really excited to bring back this new group.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Let's rip through the section seating from last year, and we'll review the teams and have your analysis here of Section 8. Start with Buffalo, the Bison. 11-4 last year. They lost to Elk River Zimmerman in the section semifinals, 14-12, upset in the semis. Losing their top two leading scorers, Hattie Toussaint, who's at Stetson. She had 46 goals, and Bailey Mishke, graduated with 37 goals. What are we looking out for with the Lady Bison?
Yeah, Buffalo, they have a ton of depth in their junior and sophomore class. A lot of them play year round together. I actually coach a lot of them in the off season. So I know a little bit of their background. But coming into last season, I mean, it was a super highly competitive border battle for that semifinal game against the 4 seed and the 1 seed, Elk River and Buffalo. And I remember on the way to Moorhead, our whole bus was watching it, and we were just at the edge of our seat, like, what's going to happen? Because it was just back and forth play, end to end. Who's going to score next? Who's slowing down? But it was just awesome to watch those teams battle, and then know maybe, if we can make it to the next chapter, then we'll be facing off of one of them. So kudos to Elk River on that one, but Buffalo definitely stayed in it with them. But yeah, with losing Hattie and Bailey, it'll definitely be interesting this year. Hattie was such a high, um, I would say she was such a great player in the midfield, but also just so attack heavy on that side. And then Bailey, especially, those two played so well together. Her being a low attack, it was definitely that what ran their offense. But some great things coming through the pipeline for them. Danica Eng, Army commit 2027. She's runs, their draw control. She's tons of draw controls from last year. Strong defensive minded mid, 53 caused forced turnovers and 54 ground balls. She's a first team all section and honorable mention all state player last year. She is the last person you want on your tail in the transition. But I would say she's definitely stronger on the defensive side. And then Adelita Nelson is another 2027 strong player, committed to Florida Southern. She's unbelievably fast. She's an attack for them, and you got to keep your eyes on her on the defensive side of the ball. She is going to backdoor cut you all day. And then as well as, Callista Waike, she's an NMU commit. So they definitely have quite a bit of commits on this team, and have been working together year after year on the same teams throughout club and just working year round together. But really is their 2028s coming up too as well. Hannah Rosso and Lila Poole. They're both highly skilled players, especially when it comes to lax IQ. Hannah is lights out in the attack zone. You have to have an eye on her. She's not the tallest player, not the biggest player, but she's sneaky, and you got to stay on her. So, and then, their back of the house, Rory Meyer, their goalie, 50% save percentage last year in the LA conference, big deal. And she was an all section first team goalie and all state honorable mention goalie for them. So she's committed to St. Ben. So kudos to her. She's a phenomenal goalie, and all great things about her. So
Yeah, Rory really stood out in the All-State game last year. I'd obviously seen her and heard of her and followed her. She and just done all the little cross stuff throughout the years. But she really had a great showing in the All-State game. She's super confident, super all over the field, and I think really kind of set herself up for a potential big season this year on the award circuit. So kudos to her on that.
absolutely.
Number 2 seed, Moorhead Spuds, Lady Spuds. They're 12-4. They lost to Elk River Zimmerman in the section finals, 5-2. You played them in the section semis. What do you know about Moorhead, especially losing their top two scorers, led by Sydney Martinson, who was kind of the straw and the drink that was getting stirred by the straw. 59 goals, 25 assists, 91 draw controls. Big time loss there, but what do they have coming back?
Yeah, they have definitely it'll be a big loss for them losing Sydney Martinson. She was always their biggest threat. Always we had to face guard her last season. So it'll be definitely a difference maker this year, seeing some of those 2027s, 26s coming back. They have Lake Parr in net, their 2027 goalie. She's got a 58% save percentage. She's a super solid goalie. She was our she was the one we couldn't get around in the semifinal game, and truly was such a good communicator in the defensive zone. And then Reese, I don't know how to say your last name, Astrup. She's a 2028. She's fourth in points, but she has been working hard in this offseason. She's such a great attack, and she's going to be a threat. And we need to make sure we have our eyes on her. So she's been really putting in time in the offseason, and she has a phenomenal shot. Jocelyn Jonke, she's third in points. So I definitely see her running a little bit into that mid selection this year. And then as well as, Jocelyn and Reese working together this year in the attack zone. It'll definitely be interesting this year how they fill in, losing such a solid player like Sidney, and really all of the team. They have such great spirit. Every time we drive up to Moorhead, it's always like, oh my gosh, they have every fan's in the stands, and it's always one of those things. All right, girls, like, get on the bus, just be ready, because they're coming with heat. And so it'll be really interesting losing their top player there. Sidney was such a phenomenal player to watch. And we always had to face guard her every game. So it'll be interesting to see how these younger players step up.
Number 3 in the section last year, your STMA Knights, 9-6, as we said, lost to Moorhead in the section semifinals. You had a lot of scoring, kind of not the main score, but a lot of team scoring that graduated. But you also had Kylie Voss graduated, who's a D1 commit to Akron on the defensive side. Obviously, probably the headline coming back, Piper Peterson, 2027 committed to Virginia Tech, was kind of everything for you guys. It looks like 79 goals, 93 points total with 80 draw controls. What is the outlook looking like coming back with Piper?
Yeah, excited. Piper, 2027 Virginia Tech commit. That girl has worked for that and everything that she has accomplished. We've had her for the last 5 years. She was a varsity player as a seventh grader and really has had to set the bar high as being a seventh grader in the program. She overall does it. I mean, she plays. She's a two-way midi, but she's playing that whole field the entire time. I mean, we don't take her off much, but she is well conditioned. She's the threat on the field. Her forced turnovers are high. She's playing defensively in the attack zone. I mean, she's finding the draw. I mean, she is really the threat of our team. But biggest thing is some of our younger players coming through the pipeline, being Kendall Ringett and Taylor Tollefson in the attack zone. Kendall and Allie work really, really well with Piper. They had high draw controls and ground balls last year. And I'm really seeing them peak throughout the end of the season. They were really peaking. Allie coming from being an attacker the year prior to having to step into a mid role was a big difference for her. But overall, both of those I can see working really well with Piper again this year. And then Avery Hennessy, she wasn't on the lax hub as much because she is coming back from a knee injury, but she will be another fourth midfielder option for us as well. And then Alessandra Morawski, she's a 2027. She's such a strong defender for us. She's not committed yet, but I see that coming soon, I hope, for her, because she truly deserves it. She's so strong in the clear and transition, and her off-season work is, she's going all year round. And just such a high lax IQ. Olivia Jeriel, she's committed to Kaiser University. She is our glue of our defense. Definitely excited that she's back with us. Her and Alessandra work so well together, shutting down some of these top teams. Then as well as having a new goalie in our net this year, having Kat graduating last year. We're going to really need them to set the bar high again for another year. So super excited for those girls. But overall, yeah, biggest thing about Piper is she just puts 110% in when nobody's watching. And she grinds year in, year out. And like I said, practice is over. She's the player staying after shooting. The next day happens and we don't have practice, or we have an off day and she's out on the field doing something or running or doing something. She has such a strong work ethic, and I'm so excited to see where she than this year, next year, where it takes her. And she just, like I said, she was an all-state player, all-state first team player last year as a midfielder, and then the year before she was an all-state honorable mention as a freshman. So super excited for her. It's so well deserved, and she's really set the bar high. She actually plays with Layla Nick from Orono on her club team, and I truly think that's the reason that has really pushed her, is playing with such a talented player like Layla. Those two have really learned how to compete at the highest level, working year round together. So I've been so grateful to be able to coach her and what she does for our program.
Yeah, having Piper and Layla as your 1-2 punch, not too shabby. In during the summer season, I know Maddie Below from Prior Lake is also on that team, and she did all right in the state tournament last year too. And I've talked to Maddie's parents, and they have nothing but nice things to say about Layla and Piper as part of their experience. So good to hear. Good to hear. Moving on, probably the scariest number 4 seed you could dream up with the Elk River Zimmerman Elks. 12-6, won the section. They lost to Park in the state quarterfinals 18-10, and they lost to Maple Grove in the state consolation semifinals 15-3. They had 5 seniors graduate, led by Lily Osterman, 72 goals, 26 assists, 84 draw controls. She's at Mesa. I saw she scored her first goal a couple games ago. And they also graduated their goalie, Natalie Kick, who had a 7.88 goals against average. Got a lot coming back. Second, third, and fourth leading scorers, Emily Brummer, Kylie Holte, and Cora McLean kind of headline the group. How did Elk River get the 4 seed?
It was neck and
Coach?
neck. It was neck and neck. I do believe they should have gotten a higher seed than the 4 seed. They're always a phenomenal team year after year. And especially having Lily last year, it'll be interesting to see where they go this year. But I really don't know. It was tick for tack. I mean, in those seedings, we were all one away. So it was, I guess, one of us, and they were the ones. And look at them, they ended up being the one. So yeah, Elk River. I mean, Lily was such a phenomenal player. Mount Moorhead losing Sidney, Elk River losing Lily. It's just those are the players that we really look out for. The game we played against them, we actually mid-season it was tied 30 seconds left, 20 seconds left, and we ended up scoring within like 6 seconds left in the game during our regular season. And it was like I felt like we just won state because we never really beat Elk River, so it was the best thing ever. But yeah, so Cora, Emily, and Kyla. Cora being a 2028, Kyla being a 26, committed to CSP. And Emily not committed, but she is a 2026. Those three are the grind of their offense. I mean, they're running that draw control. We always have to look out for Emily the most. She was a first team all section midfielder last year. Definitely the top player. She controls the draw with 82 draw controls last year and 54 points last year on the season. I mean, but they have a good spread. I mean, Cora having 46 points last season, Kyla having 46 points last season. So, I mean, all three of those girls work really, really well together, and we got to have our defense on that game and really find the draw right off the bat. Ella Tobin back in the defensive end. She was first team all section defender last year. She's a communicator all over the field and the backbone to their defensive unit. She's great. She's definitely usually marked up on Piper, one of our top players. And she just does a really, really good job at her communication and just knowing where ball is, knowing where her girl is. And then Avery St. Clair, she's a Maryville commit, 2027 class. She's, I would say, more defensive midfielder, just incredibly fast. She usually runs their transition. So yeah, Elk River is always usually in the top 2 or the final going to state every year. So it's just going to come down to really who wants it more this year, and it's going to be really interesting. Some of these top 4 teams from last year losing some of these really, really solid players that held the glue to their team. It'll be interesting to see who comes out the gates running. So I'm really, really excited for the season to start and to see who comes up first. So
Not necessarily the 5th seed from last year. They're the 6th seed, but I have the St. Cloud Crush on my list next. They're 7-8. Lost you guys in the quarterfinal 16-1, but they bring back quite a bit of scoring and their goalie. Um, is there anything kind of cooking in St. Cloud?
Yeah, we played them twice last season. Bridget Torberg, she's committed to Ave Maria. She's 2026. She was definitely their biggest threat. She had 50 points last year. She controls the draw. I mean, when she had the ball, she's strong force and is confident through the midfield. Definitely their top player in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I would say she was the driver of their team last year. And then with Sunny coming in next with Sunny Orlean 2027, she racked up the assists last year. And I think her and Bridget make a phenomenal duo together. And then goalie Phoenix Novotny, Novotny 2026. She had a 52% save percentage last year. Difference with strength of schedule last year, but I think that team is continued to improve year after year. So it'll be interesting to see how they are this year as well.
And the rest of the section, Becker was 6-7 last year. They lost a ton of their scoring, but they do bring back a 2028 goalie. The Big Lake combo meal, they lost for seniors, and they get their goalie and their top six scorers back. So they're going to be, I think, better than the 1-13 record that they had last year, just with some experience coming back. Brainerd is kind of interesting, and feel free to weigh in. They're 7-8. They lost seven players to graduation, but they have 14 roster 2026 is coming back. So if you want some experience and some senior leadership, there you go. Anything you see on Brainerd?
I know that last year they had a decent class, but as well as I mean, they surprised us last year. They came to St. Michael, played us, and we're playing them again this year. So definitely was a shock to me, just with how much that, like you said, the 2026's class coming back. They've definitely been playing with each other for a few years now, and yeah, it's a huge class, and it'll be interesting to see how much they have grown. And then going into Monticello, they were the number 5 seed last year. Jared Hines is replacing Shane Weber as the head coach. It'll be really cool to see how he brings forward the program. I actually started at Monticello before I went to St. Michael, so I always had
Oh,
like,
nice.
a connection for Monticello. But they lost 2 of their top offensive players. And I know they have a few 2028s coming through the pipeline here. They have been putting in a lot of work in the off season, and then Julia just Shane is a 2026, and I would say that's their top player, good leader. She's one of the top midfielder for them, with 45 points, and just works hard off the draw, and she just can, yeah, she's just a grinder. It'll be interesting to see how Jared Hines brings forward their program.
Yeah, I met Jared a few years ago as part when I was working with Miss Lax, and he was part of the group too. And he actually made a play to become our Section 8 preview coach this year. But I said I already got Sydney reserved, so Jared, you're on the books for next year to do a section preview for Section 8. But good luck to you in your first year as head coach. Ricori, they lost 9 graduates. They actually didn't have any 27s or 28s on the roster. They had seniors, juniors, and freshmen. So interesting to see what comes out of Ricori. And Sartell Sauk Rapids didn't have a complete roster, so we can't really draw too many conclusions from them. What else? What should we know about? Anything we missed or didn't talk about in Section 8?
I would just say the biggest thing is, the off season training for our especially. I mean, half of our section, it's usually, that 1 through 5 usually lays out and pans out around the same, but it's shaken up of different numbers. And then usually the rest of the teams are usually the same overlay and they kind of fall into place. But it's honestly going to be those young kids, those 28s, 27s coming through, freshmen, sophomores, and seeing who's going to really want it this year. I think we have a lot of talent in our section. I don't think we get enough credit for it. But Piper, Danica Eng, we got, Emily Brummer, we got some top players that are usually on the top leaderboards in the state. And usually, for St. Michael, you don't play, some of the top teams in the state, like a Prior Lake, or, Lakeville South last year. We don't play those teams. So usually in like, the later meetings, all state meetings, we don't have a lot of opinions against each other with our teams, just not having a lot of connection other than, I coach a lot of those girls in the off season. So it'll just be really, really cool to see how much we've grown as a program. This year we have my assistant coach, Molly Ruland. It'll be her second year. She kind of transitioned halfway through the season last year. But she was a big face for St. Michael Albertville, a few years ago. But yeah, she went to NMU and then ended up coming back home, but she's been my assistant coach, and it's just been so awesome to see the alumni coming back. We have another, we just hired a goalie coach that was one of our goalies from a few years back as well. So our alumni coming back ready to help. And it's just been awesome to see how much our program has transformed, but also to see how much our section has changed and evolved and able to play against top 10 teams. I mean, look at Buffalo last year, playing, different teams like Minnetonka, and they're staying in that top 10 leaderboard. So it'll be a border battle between Buffalo and Elk River and us. It is every year. It's either home or away, and it's always like stomach hurting on the way to the game and just ready to go. So just super excited to see where the depth this year could just be a huge difference maker. And close losses last year always usually equals motivation coming into the next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Section 8 preview, and thank you for coming down the alley with us. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a good season.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thanks. And thank you to Sidney, the head coach of STMA, the Knights, for coming down the alley, breaking down Section 8 girls lacrosse. One of the better guests of 2026, these previews. She was bringing the juice.
And I already have next year lined up, so we're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got Jared for next year too. Yeah, no, great breakdown. She was throwing names around, shouting out different players, shouting out coaches. So, if you didn't know anything about Section 8 girls lacrosse, you do now.
Like us, we don't, because we don't. So,
well, yeah, I don't. I don't know anything about Section 8 girls lacrosse. Come on.
Yeah. Should we do rankings?
Let's jump into rankings since girls are a little more fresh. Let's stay there. Source, I'll let
the section first.
Start of the section. So, I guess mine, without knowing or seeing any of these players, I've got to trust that Army knows who they're recruiting and what type of athlete you're looking for. Give me the Army recruit.
Okay, that's Danica Eng from Buffalo. Very good pick. And it's hard to argue that, but Piper from STMA, Piper Peterson, she's only a junior. We don't have a age restriction on stud of the section.
That's true. We don't,
like we do for Ms. Lacrosse. I'm going to give the nod to Piper Peterson. She is really good, and if Layla Nick wasn't in the picture, I think a lot of people would be talking about Piper coming out of Minnesota.
Okay.
Layla sucks up a lot of the oxygen as far as Minnesota recruits, but yeah, Piper Peterson is really close to that level. If maybe a half a step behind, but really close to that. So
is VT Virginia Tech, obviously a football school, no men's lacrosse? Are they built like Clemson? Obviously, I've seen them on social media. They've got sick facilities. Like, do you know anything about Virginia Tech girls? Like, are they building something sweet?
I never went to Virginia Tech during my bit on the recruiting trail with Madeline. And I hesitate to open up a browser because I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my internet connection again.
Oh, you're good.
ACC school. Seems though there are always a couple games above 500. I think they're very legit, and I think it's a big get to have a Minnesota recruit commit to Vatech.
Yeah, they're so this year 7-4.
Yeah.
ACC schedule starting. So, that's cool. That's cool.
It's also hard to beat a cadet from Army, though.
Yeah,
right
I'm just going out on a limb, not knowing any of these players. I'm like, I know who Army commits on the boys' side from Minnesota. Yeah, I'm down with that. Like Gus Bell. Yeah, okay.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. All right, stud of the section covered. Team rankings. Where are you going to go with this?
I'm going to start off by saying we picked them last year first. Or at least I did. I don't remember what you guys picked. They got upset in the semis, so it seems a little silly to be rolling them back. But I'm going to roll back the Buffalo Bison,
Okay.
in Bison Boulevard. I'm a big Bison Boulevard fan, just like you are. They did lose a couple of their leading scorers, but they really bring back not only Danica Eng, who's that Army commit, but Rory Meyer. I think she is going to make a lot of noise in that, and I think it's going to be the backbone and the rock that steadies that team out. They'll figure out the scoring. Uh, Krista Crandall is the head coach. Krista knows what she's doing. She's got a literal and figurative pipeline from her school to the club. She's a great coach, building up the program. I think Buffalo's going to be the number one seed in Section 8. I am not going to fade Elk River Zimmerman. Elk River Zimmerman is a lacrosse town as far as I'm concerned. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the boys' side. I think they got disrespected as the 4 seed. I think they were upset about that, and they showed it by winning the section last year. I will not put that disrespect on their name. They're going to be the 2 seed, and if they had 1 or 2 pieces coming back, I would say they're going to give Buffalo again a run again for their money. Number 3, STMA. They're going to be in a lot of games because Piper's going to keep them in a lot of games. It's kind of as simple as that. If they can have a few pieces coming back to support them and support her, I think they could definitely make some noise. And then I am going to take the Crush from St. Cloud as my number 4 seed. 1, I want Ted to go find a Crush logo, but 2, I think they have something brewing. I remember I talked about them a little bit last year as an up and comer. They did lose their leading scorer in Claire Staudinger, but they bring back an awful lot, including their goalie. So I'm going to take the Crush at number 4.
I like your picks. Really curious, and you'll know why on, putting Buffalo here at 1. I'm going Elk River. I'm going Elk River at 1. They're the champion. And I feel like everyone in Section 8, at least, has like an infatuation with Elk River. Like if
I
they
think they're scared of them. I think.
I think so too. Like from what I hear, the very little of girls lacrosse Section 8 I hear, it's like it's Elk River. Maybe it could maybe you feel the same way about Moorhead on the boys' side for Section 8. It's like it's Elk River girls lacrosse Section 8. I just feel like they're up on a pedestal. I have no clue why. I haven't dove into the stats. I haven't dove into the film. This is all just gut feel vibes. The vibes are that everyone is already lost to Elk River. So I'm going Elk River at 1, just based off of that vibe. Vibe number 2, I'm going STMA. Are they getting a DTA bump here? Maybe. They could be. Do they have the stud of the section? Apparently they do. So if I'm gonna stand behind, I started this in Section 1. If you got a stud of the section, you got a chance. That's how I feel about girls lacrosse. Edina always has 2, right? So if STMA has 1, okay, that speaks enough. However, I might be like contradicting myself because my stud of the section is on Buffalo, so I have to. Maybe I should have put them at 2, but I'm going to throw them at 3. I do like Bison Boulevard. STMA gets the DTA bump. And then at 4, at 4, things get interesting. You are throwing a curveball at me with St. Cloud. I don't know what you know that I don't know. I don't know if it's a logo thing. I don't know if it's a vibe thing. But I'm going to go. There was another curveball in here. Where was the curveball I picked up on? Brainerd. Give me Brainerd at 4. 14 2026 is back. Throw them in at 4 as a curveball for me.
Go logo hunting, Ted. Go find that logo. No, good picks. You kind of shame on the Section 8 coaches. Like, you're all afraid of Elk River Zimmerman, and then you disrespect them by putting them as a 4 seed and just piss them all off. Like, what are you doing? You should just give them the 1 seed and just hope they like just chill out and don't ruin your season. No, there's nothing wrong with those picks. And good side playing both sides of the coin on your start of the section, and also putting Buffalo at 3. So you got that
I don't
covered
know.
too.
I don't feel good about any of the picks. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a good feeling. I don't have a good grasp on Section 8 girls lacrosse right now. So we'll see. Maybe I'll look like a genius at the end of May. We'll find out.
We'll find out. Speaking of not having good grasp, let's go to the boys' side. We could talk about my picks.
Um, Start of the section first. Again, I don't, even on the boys' side, I will admit I don't run into a lot of these guys. But the biggest highlighted, underlined, bolded player is this Garrett Bauer kid. Three-way midi. Moorhead had a lot to say about him. My scouting report here has a lot to say about him. He's out of Monticello, the Magic. Garrett Bauer. He's going to be my stud of the section. Could there be others? Are there a bunch of others? We've talked. There's a lot of names dropped, a lot of points. The Spuds have a bunch of them. STMA is bringing some guys back too. So I think there's a lot of options here. I'm going, at least for me, I'm going Garrett Bauer. He was the most highlighted player in my scouting reports from my sources.
Love it.
In terms of rankings, I'm going Moorhead 1. I don't think this is going to surprise anybody. They're bringing everything, not everything, but they're bringing a lot back. They've owned this section, all of the post-COVID era. I'm going to keep them at 1 until proven otherwise. My number 2. I'm gonna go with Monticello. They've got the stud of the section, so I'm gonna ride them. I am a little concerned about the supporting cast there. They're going through a reload, but I'm gonna trust that they can ride that horse in Garrett Bauer. And they also have a goalie, going along with them. STMA 3, they're always in the mix. And then I will go I'll go Elk River at 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very similar. I got Moorhead number 1. They bring back so much, and for all the things you just said, Moorhead is number 1. I've estimated number 2. Yeah, they're in the section finals. I got a little taste of the bright lights. They have a lot of now this year juniors coming back with a lot of that experience. I like that. So I'm going to go STMA number 2. Elk River and Zimmerman are lacrosse towns, I guess. It's not just one town, it's 2 towns.
Two
But
towns.
they are 2 towns that are lacrosse towns. They're gritty. I'm having the Elk River Zimmerman Elks as my number 3 pick. And I'm gonna go Monty Magic, even with their stud of the section and a goalie coming back, I'm gonna have them as a 4 seed.
I don't hate it. I like your rankings. I might like your rankings more than mine, admittedly.
Yeah. I
But
don't know about that.
but I like it. That's our rankings. That's our stud of the sections. That's our section 8 breakdown. Do we have any last quick topics to tackle? I know you sent me a golf thing. What's going on in golf tonight?
Well, it's not going on golf tonight. It is the Masters, my favorite golf tournament. The Augusta National Golf Club. Been there twice, watched 1 round there. Not a big deal, long time ago. They have released their Masters Vault, and you can go and search for any shot hit in the Masters from like 1968 to 2025, I think. Let me pull it up here quick.
So is that what you're doing the rest of the night?
So I might be doing the rest of the night. Well, I would kind of like to watch some basketball. But yeah, 1968 to 2025. Any shot you want to hit, go look it up in the Masters Vault. There's a lot of them there.
Speaking of basketball, fill out a bracket? Who's winning it?
Not Wisconsin. They already lost.
Not Wisconsin.
Not
Wisconsin is not. Wisconsin's not. Hey, lacrosse schools have done decent today. I know it's early in the tournament.
Yeah, High Point beat Wisconsin lacrosse school.
High Point lacrosse school. Siena lacrosse school made some things interesting today. If you're a lacrosse schools, keep an eye out. That could be the scouting report. If you're doing the Kelsey trading, that could be ride the lacrosse schools.
There's your basketball analysis. Ride the lacrosse schools. Go UNC.
That's all I got this week. Thanks for tuning in. Section 8. Hey, this rounds out the
previews.
preseason. Hands are clean. Source, great job. Great job. You've killed it. I've gotten a lot of kudos to you from the DTA community. Somebody actually in Prior Lake asked me, is Steve the source? And I'm like, have you been watching the podcast? Yes, he's the source. He's outed as the source. So there's some people still playing a little bit of catch up here as we go into the season. But it's all good.
It's preseason for everyone.
Yeah,
we're all playing catch up right now.
Yeah. So awesome. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back probably next week or the week after. Let's see. This is going to drop. Oh yeah, we'll be next week and it'll be the regular season. So we'll
have something.
We will have something next week at some point. I'll guarantee you that. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll have something. Tryout week. Here we go.
See ya.
See ya.